Alfred Hitchcock's most nail-biting scenes had a formula to them. Let me show you. We're going to look at the most suspenseful scenes from 5 of his great movies, so there are massive spoilers ahead. Just in case you were born yesterday and nobody slipped you the memo, Alfred Hitchcock is the master of suspense. I'm not sure he was even aware he used a formula, but don't let that fool you. He could direct a great movie in his sleep. He was that good. So what's the formula? The scene always, and I mean always, starts with some kind of dolly or tracking move. A dolly move is when the camera moves towards or away from the subject, and a tracking move is when the camera moves to the right or left of the subject. Let's start with the second murder scene in Psycho. Arbogast enters the house. We already know Mother is in the house and his life is in grave danger. From where is Mother going to come? When Arbogast walks upstairs, the camera starts to dolly back. This is the beginning of the most suspenseful part of this scene. It's like an arrow being drawn back in the bow. As Arbogast reaches the top, we cut to a top angle. When Mother attacks, there is no movement of the camera. The quick scene ends when Arbogast falls down the stairs and we dolly back down with him. He falls and Mother completes the job. Note, the shot changes here. I'll explain that later. The dolly or track in and out bookend to the murder is a formula that dominates Hitchcock's most suspenseful scenes. The same thing happens in the shower scene. Marion enters the shower. We know Norman has been watching her. You have to remember, audiences in those days weren't expecting a shocker of a scene and the leading lady to die at this moment. So Hitchcock lulls us into a false calm for a few seconds. Then changes to an unnatural angle where the door opens and we see the killer entering. The camera dollies in. When the murder happens, the camera hardly moves. There's lots of cuts but no deliberate camera movement for the sake of extending shots. After the murder, Marion dies and the dolly move continues and pans at the same time from her eye all the way outside. The exact same formula. And if you're wondering if the third scene is the exception, no. We dolly in as she enters the basement and we dolly out when he's caught. The same formula 3 times in the same movie. Let's take one of Hitchcock's early masterpieces and one of his favorites. In Shadow of a Doubt, the last scene is an absolute shocker. Both Charlies are on the train and she needs to get off. He holds her back. We all know what a rotten character he is. The camera dollies with them to the door of the compartment. The camera doesn't move much except for one tilt down to her leg. I'll explain that a little later. They struggle, the bad guy slips, and he dies. We leave the scene from outside the train, in a dolly kind of movement. The release shot is always at a different angle. Now what about Vertigo? The last scene is the most tense because we're all dying to know what Scotty's going to do to Judy. They climb up the tower, and the hyper-abused dolly zoom or vertigo zoom takes us to the top. They talk, and there's lots of action, but the camera hardly moves. She falls to her death, and we leave the kill zone from the other route. It's almost like the train earlier, a release from the claustrophobia of the tower. How about one of the finest suspense sequences in film history, from The Birds? Melanie walks to the bench outside the school. We have a few static shots until she discovers birds have assembled behind her, ready to attack. The shot changes to signify the end. Then, as she leaves, we track back to the school. In Rear Window, let's look at the scene when Lisa enters the murderer's apartment. This time, all we get is a pan from left to right. It's still a movement. Jeff watches from afar, unable to do anything. All static shots, even when the murderer arrives. He enters the room and she runs into the bedroom to hide. In a beautiful touch, you can see him entering through his reflection in the window pane. When the police arrive, we move back to the door and the lights come on. The shot changes to a higher angle and wider to tell us the suspense is over. For now. This one is just a simple pan right and left, but it follows the exact same formula. There is movement at the beginning and end of the scene, and right when the action happens, the camera is typically static. There's always dramatic music during these scenes. In Shadow of Doubt, the tilt down to the leg is possible because the music builds up during the shot. In Rear Window, the music is subtle, so the shots can be extended longer and don't cut as fast. When Hitchcock knows he's got our attention, he stretches the shot duration to build even more suspense. In Psycho, the music during the shower scene is cinema history. In Vertigo, the music is literally wall to wall. Every cut tells us something new, otherwise it would have just been tedious. Study the shots in shadow of a doubt. Each one tells a story. Him pushing, she holding on to the door, then slipping, and him pushing her again. Is she going to fall? No. She holds on to the other side, and he slips. No wasteful shots. No time to move the camera without ruining the montage. In The Birds, it's just kids singing a nursery rhyme.
Rustlety, rustlety, now, now, now.
She is impatient, waiting for the damn rhyme to finish. The rhythmic nature of the rhyme lulls us in one direction, while Hitchcock repeats shots to draw out the scene. He knows we're desperate to find out what's coming next. But he also knew when to just have one shot, like the second murder in Psycho. He could play the audience like a violin. This was Hitchcock at his absolute best, a lifetime of mastery distilled into one scene. The third part of the formula is classic Hollywood. These suspense scenes start with long shots, go into mid shots, then close-ups. When it's all over, we're back to long shots again. And finally, the last part of the formula is the Kuleshov effect. The actor looks, he sees something, he reacts to that. He keeps watching. And as the thing gets worse, his reaction gets more extreme. Looks and reactions glue everything together. And more importantly, it tells us how to feel. That's the Hitchcock formula in 4 parts. 1. You have a camera move before and after the moment of action. This could be a dolly or tracking move or just a pan or tilt. 2. Build up dramatic music during the scene. 3. Start with long shots, move into close-ups, and then release with long shots again from a different angle. And 4. Use the Kuleshov effect to bind the audience to the characters. Hitchcock used this formula relentlessly throughout his greatest films. The result is gut-wrenching, nail-biting suspense for the ages. If you're serious about your filmmaking, download our free blueprint to making a movie. The link's in the description. I know you want to watch my next video and the suspense is killing you. Let me draw it out like Hitchcock. Bye now.